Hola, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Subconsciously Speaking, the podcast. Yee Great that you're here. Today, we are talking about why the beep, nothing has worked so far to stop the thoughts ruminating in your mind. And this is especially for those of you who have tried so many things to tone it down, to get peace of mind, to just not think and realize that nothing really works. Maybe it works a little bit, or maybe it works for a little while, but not to the level that you want it to. So if there's still no peace of mind, don't worry. I'm going to explain why that's the case. And why I think that's so important to share with you in this episode is that it can be a very frustrating place to be when you notice that you're kind of mentally spiraling. There's so many thoughts that are in your mind, and they could be about the past or about the future, could be big things, small things, could be things that happened or didn't happen. you know it's just wild, and it's endless. So it's like you're on this hamster wheel of thoughts and it keeps going. So that in itself can be quite frustrating and tiring. So then getting into trying to solve it, putting in time and energy to solve it by, for example, could be a million things, but could be, for example, reading a book about how to manage your thoughts, listening to a podcast, as you are now. This doesn't need to be. I mean, this could be the last one, I promise. But it could also be that you're having therapy sessions to manage your thinking, or maybe it's journaling that you try to get your thoughts onto paper and just get them out of your system, but then they're still there, when you stop journaling. Maybe meditation, mindfulness, spiritual practice, even. I see so many of my clients trying out very different modalities, and many of them are using and trying out more than one thing, right? And then to find out that after having put in the time and energy, it's still not solved. So you still don't have the peace of mind that you're craving. And instead, you're still, thinking about the negative scenarios. And well, I don't have to explain to you what that's like. But if you feel that it's still that pattern that's just so frustrating, whew, I can imagine it's like a double hit to take, right? So the fact that you're ruminating is already tiring, but then if you spend so much dedication, time, and energy to solve it, and then find out that it's still there, can be double frustrating. So that's why I think it's super important to talk about this in this episode. And most of the people who experience this on the outside, you may be one of them. On the outside, everything looks fine, right? You're functioning, you have it all together. People maybe even respect you, and they say that they admire that you just manage somehow to juggle everything, and it looks like you're doing great. But on the inside, it can be a different story. It can be that, constant thinking. On the one hand, it's good because you're probably the one thinking about everything and very aware of everything. But on the other hand, it can be very frustrating because it's up to a crazy level, right? So you're constantly thinking, you're constantly aware. It may be also experience of some chaos in your mind. And yeah, it can take all kinds of forms and shapes, right? So it could be that you're replaying conversations over and over again. What has been said? What did you say? Or what did you not say that you wanted to have said? And would they think that you think that they know that that category? And could also be that you're trying to predict what will happen in the future, right? So you're anticipating what's to come and thinking out all the scenarios. Could be this, and if it's this one, what will happen? And if it's that one, what will happen? And so on. And what is also quite common is that you can start to doubt yourself. And this can be doubting yourself as a person, could be doubting your own decisions. Was it the right decision to take? Or was the other one better? Doubting what you said, what you did, what you didn't do. So as you can imagine, this is quite a chaotic and overwhelming place to be. And most often we think to ourselves, well, I should just be able to handle this. This is happening in my mind, and these are my thoughts. And I guess that no one else is experiencing this because everyone looks fine. But the joke, well, it's not a funny one, but the joke of this is that a lot of people are coping with this, are trying to manage this, are suffering from this. But it's just that on the outside we don't see it, and it's not a topic that's often discussed, right? So that's why I want to bring it up now. And yeah, if this is just a more common thing to discuss, you will find out that you're for sure not the only one. And also, talking about it really helps to, first of all, get it out of your system, but also to hear from others what is their experience, can learn from one another, and sharing is caring. So that's also very helpful. Yeah, so just to get back on track of the topic, why is it not working? Well, if you try something once, right, and it doesn't work up to your expectation, well, you could say that that's just like unlucky or whatever, and you try again or you try something else. But when you try many things and none of it really works, you can start to question if there's anything that could work, right? And then you start to maybe even believe that there's nothing that really works for me. And if it doesn't work for you, well, then maybe that's because you're doing something wrong. And that's not great, because then you may be doubting yourself even more, right? So you may find yourself just kind of trying to live your life and adapting around this challenge of the thoughts, right? So the way this can take shape in your life, it could be, for example, that you're starting to avoid certain things or certain people or certain actions. And could also be a procrastination, right? So that you're putting off things, because if you're thinking so much about it and there's all these doom scenarios in your mind, then, well, maybe it's not a good idea to proceed anyway, right? And with that comes a sort of hesitation to really take action, to move forward, to go after what you want, because, well, there's already like 50 things in your mind that could go wrong. So it's really kind of this analysis paralysis effect, right? That happens. It makes sense, because if you found 50 ways that it doesn't work, why would you take the risk of actually proceeding, right? So it kind of delays things in your life and maybe your life itself. And it's very important and very valuable to get insight into this behavior, because you may be thinking, oh, it just sucks. I just need to get rid of this. I just need to stop thinking. But actually, it's really insightful and very valuable to dive a little bit deeper into this behavior, because that's just what it is. It's only behavior. These thoughts that are in a loop, or doubting yourself, or anything, it's all behavior. And behavior you can change, right? As long as you're aware and as long as you get the insights that you need. So the thing is, we can all understand what is happening here and still be stuck, right? So you probably know already how it works in the mind. You know what to do about it. You know how to handle it. So you've probably already tried it as well. So it's not a matter of the lack of knowledge, right? And it's just that a lot of times when we gain more knowledge, we tend to fight our thoughts even more, right? So why we are looking for solutions, it's a solution that we try to find that is able to quiet down the thoughts. And that's not a very loving method, because it's just trying to push it away, right? But with thinking, it's like trying to stop the thoughts is pushing a balloon underwater, right? So you're trying to push it, and the more you push it, the harder it comes back, right? And this is the same with thinking. So if you're trying to stop thinking by thinking more, gaining more knowledge, and having another method and forcing yourself to do it that way, then what you're going to get is a lot of deception, disappointment, because you're trying to fight. You're pushing that balloon underwater. You think that it's going to work. You have high hopes for yourself. And then bam, it shoots back up and nothing has changed. You have just gotten even more frustrated and lost time and energy. So this is what I want to get you out of, because this is the way that is most often taught, that this is the way to solve it, and it's a problem that you need to get rid of, right? But like I just said, is that if we gain more insight into why is it that our thoughts are going so wild, then let's see what it uncovers. Because let's decide and let's agree that if thinking was the solution, it would have worked by now. You'd be free already. You'd be enjoying peace of mind. But since you're still listening to this episode, I think it hasn't worked to think more. So if we just consider the rumination and the mental spiraling a kind of a pattern for overthinking, and not per se a logic problem, but just a pattern that we see. Okay, so there's no judgment there. It's just neutral. It's like, okay, I notice that I'm thinking a lot, maybe even around a certain topic that's bothering you most, right? And once you realize that your brain doesn't do anything that is not in your best interest, and you may think, well, this rumination is not helping me. Actually, as crazy as it sounds, it does, because otherwise your brain wouldn't waste any energy on it, right? Thinking is quite an energy intensive thing for your body. So the fact that you're overthinking, it serves a certain purpose. And of course, you're saying that it doesn't bring you anything, that it's just a problem. But think of it like this: your brain, its sole mission is to keep you safe. That's what it's there for. So it's there to protect you, which is a very noble cause, right? So it's trying to protect you. And it's in this loop of, if I think more, I'll be safe. So let's think a little more and keep thinking, because safety is the one and only purpose. It's not your happiness. It's not your success. It's not, it's none of that. It's just protection. It's just safety. But then once it's in that loop, it realizes that the safety never really comes. So the loop continues, right? It's like this self-reinforcing situation. So the safety never comes. And therefore, sometimes you can experience that the thoughts get even crazier, or they are even louder, the voices in your head, because of this concept. This is how it works in your brain. And this is also why pushing the thoughts away causes that balloon to flip back right up, and with the force that you didn't expect, because it's there to protect you. And once we realize this, and maybe you can relate to this now, is that once you realize that, okay, I'm seeing this as a problem, but knowing that neurologically this is happening because my brain wants me to be safe, so it's coming from a good place, it's coming from a protective place, then you hopefully can stop focusing on the thoughts themselves and stop fighting them, but in a more loving way, look at what's happening with more compassion, looking at your own patterns, and just start noticing them. Because when we reframe the situation like this, it becomes just of a situation of curiosity, right? Because it's very interesting to go through your day and to notice, hey, when is it worst? When is it at its, well, let's not even say at its worst. When is it most intense? When are my thoughts most intense? And when does that start? Are there maybe any triggers or any feelings? So see how you're just kind of investigating instead of trying to control them, right? And what you get then is more awareness, because once you discover the pattern, then we can work with the pattern and we can interrupt the pattern so it doesn't happen again. And again, in a loving way, right? We're not going to fight thoughts anymore. That's really passé. It doesn't work. We know, right? So we're not fighting thoughts, but we're interrupting patterns. And we do so by working with the thoughts, working with the brain, working with your system, and not against it. Because when you know that your system is there for you, you're in the same boat, it's just that practically it doesn't really perfectly align, there is a way to instantly change this. And if you know me a little bit by now, you may see this one coming. But this instant change is realized by working with your subconscious. And what happens then, working with the subconscious, so there is just a quick explanation. You have your full brain system capacity is 100%, of course. And then there is 5%, which is the conscious active mind. And this is the part of the mind that is, very logical and is communicating in words like I am talking to you now. And this is the part of our system that we're most taught to work with, right? So it's logical, it's learning, it's also fighting thoughts. That's all in the 5%. And the remaining 95% is subconscious. So this is the part that is not, well, the name itself kind of says it all. It's not conscious to you. So you're not aware of it, but it's there, right? And needless to say, the 95% is way stronger than the 5%. The 95%, since it's subconscious, it's not very clear at first in your life because we're not thought about it. We're not taught to interact with it, to work with it. But actually, in the 95%, that's where all your patterns are, your beliefs. It's all stored in there. And this you can consider like your internal software. So similar to a computer, right? Your computer runs on software, and that's why it can work. And every day when you open it, when you open your laptop, for example, you notice that it's working the same way. And this is similar to your internal software, in which there is a certain programming that's there. And based on that programming, you operate. So consciously, what we see in our reality is what is the conscious mind is doing based on what the subconscious mind is feeding it, right? So you can imagine that when you're fighting with the 5% of the conscious mind, it's a battle you will lose for sure. But also it's a battle that's very tiring because the 5%, it's willpower, right? This is discipline. And these are things that kind of drain your battery. And once the battery is drained, forget it, right? Then the thoughts are like a puppy without training. They're on the loose. So what is the way? I mean, this, I can't even put it into words, you guys. This is the most effective, loving, compassionate, fun, and easy way to finally get peace of mind is just work with your subconscious. Because once you start looking at not only looking at it, but working with the core of the matter, which is why are your thoughts running wild? Why does your system think that it needs to analyze everything a million times? Why does it need to think of these doom scenarios? Why do you have to doubt yourself? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Why are you not your biggest supporter? Because you have this one life, you have dreams, you have goals. Why are you not achieving them, right? So it doesn't make sense at all that we're not our biggest cheerleader. And well, that's going off going off topic a little bit into this rant. But what I just want to share is that it doesn't make sense that we need to fight ourselves, right? There's a lot going on in the world, especially now, and why fight ourselves too? There's no need, right? So once you realize that, oh, I can actually work with my subconscious, where the pattern, the overthinking, the mental spiraling, the ruminating, whatever you call it, where it's rooted, where it's coming from, and you change it right there with, again, a lot of love and compassion, then you'll see that in your reality, consciously, the behavior, which is the crazy thoughts, well, they just fade away, they dissolve, because you have taught the subconscious that this pattern is no longer needed. And you can just reprogram that, just like you can reprogram your computer, update your software, and you'll see instant results, instant change. And the same way works on your laptop, right? So on your laptop, you update it. Sometimes you get the notification. It's time to update. Okay, cool. You update it and bam, it's done, right? It's updated, and it's updated today and tomorrow and next week and next month. And there's not one day that your laptop's going to say, well, I'm just going to, it's Tuesday. I'm just going to go back and get like that old version, for just for a day. No, it doesn't work like that, because it's just set to the new update, right? That's the new programming. And it's exactly the same way it works with your subconscious. So this is like my clients call it sometimes like secret weapon, biggest life hack, whatever you want to call it. That's what this is, right? And the best thing about it is that you won't notice dramatic changes, because real change isn't dramatic. It's not massive. It's not, overnight, whoa, my whole world has changed. And that's because this all feels very normal. It feels very subtle. When you have to fight to change something with your conscious mind, you may notice that you're trying to achieve something, you're putting in so much time and effort. It's like grinding, controlling, and then once you see a little bit of change, that feels like, oh yeah, I can see it now. It's happening. That's great. That's how the conscious mind operates. But when you subconsciously make a change, the way that you experience it is completely different, because it's not something that you need to fight for. It's something that you, in your internal belief system, have shifted. And therefore, it shifted in the internal software itself. And I hope that I'm explaining this correctly. Otherwise, let me know. Correctly, clear enough, because I want to explain this in a very simple way. There's quite some complex data behind it, but this is basically what it is, right? So it's something that you just notice in your reality. So for example, you may notice that you're just doing something, and then afterwards you realize, oh wait, usually I would have, thought that through like a million times, but now I just did it, or now I just decided. Or when you realize that, hey, whoa, I didn't even replay conversations anymore that I had today, or those things don't bother me. Or you get feedback from your environment that other people see and notice that you are doing things differently. So it just feels so much calmer, so much more enjoyable, right? So you can kind of say that you're surprising and amazing yourself sometimes, because your new reality is so much more pleasant and so much calmer than before. So this is really an effortless way instead of a forced way to calm your mind and get peace of mind. And it's really something that you may notice that I'm super passionate about. So to wrap up, I would say that you can stop thinking that you're doing something wrong, right? Because now you know that your brain, your system is actually trying to protect you and doing this for you. And it's not your fault. You're not, doing it wrong. It's not because you're not good enough or you're not capable enough. You for sure are. I mean, your brain is working perfectly fine. Look at how much it is thinking every day, right? So it is just the solution that we're taught to deal and fight and focus on these thoughts. That is not the most effective way. And of course, there's people who can kind of manage their thoughts, but yeah, I would suggest, why manage if you can solve it, right? So once you notice that you have shifted this subconsciously, it's just natural, right? And what is beautiful about this as well, same with your laptop, it's lasting change. It's not something that you have for this week, or you need to maintain, or you have to refresh. No, it's lasting change. And it feels so simple. And I wish that for you, because there is nothing more frustrating than being stuck in your own head. There's more to life than that, right? So with that, I want to wrap up, and I want to thank you for listening, because if you're still here, it's very important to me that you get this message and you see how amazing you are, how powerful you are, and that no one and nobody is against you, not even your system. It's there to help you and protect you. That's the main message. If you feel that you want to explore this further, I want to invite you to visit overthinkingnomore.com. This is my website that I've created with kind of an overthinking rumination check. And there's just a couple questions. You can fill them out. Of course, all your answers will be with me and will not be shared with anyone else. And by filling that out, you can get kind of a check on your level of overthinking and ruminating, and also a way out, a way to solve it, right? Like I discussed in the way working with the subconscious. And yeah, please visit overthinkingnomore.com if you are dealing with these thoughts that won't quiet down, because I wish that for you, that you have peace of mind. And again, I want to thank you so much for listening. And hopefully I will catch you on the next one. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And make sure to share this, by the way, as well with people that you know and care about that are dealing with rumination, overthinking, mentally spiraling, because yeah, sharing is caring. All right. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.